Alright, here we go. CJ Sluggo. Alright, so I got a Gamakatsu B10S number 2 in the vise. And I'm using 200 GSP. So, a little thread base. Get it nice and covered. And start off with our whiting hen cape. I'm just going to reach here in the back and pull out a couple thicker, longer fibers. I'm just going to take these two and pair them up. I'll flip them around backwards to each other so that way they kind of flare out. Drop them on top. Up a little bit. Now I just take these scraggly feathers and just fold them back. Cover that hook up. Yeah, now the feathers lay nice and flat. Moving on to white bucktail. Grab, I don't know, not too many. You want it to kind of be sparse on the back. Just a nice little thin piece. I'm going to kind of weed on all these stray fibers. I also like to take them and pair them up on the tips. And I just stick them on the hook. I go about not quite half the length of that feather, and then I just kind of drop them on the top of the hook and rotate them around. Hold that while I start my thread. Pull it tight. A few wraps. Get that bucktail in there. And just lift all the feathers up. Hairs up, excuse me. And then go. Everything down. Next we have unipolar chenille. That's the silver. Let's grab that tip. Stick it down on the hook. Bring that thread all the way almost to the eye. And then I actually like to throw a little half hitch right there to lock that thread in. Use my bobbin cradle because I'm lazy. And just rotate this around, just kind of making sure those fibers are sticking up and not laying forward. Like that. Work. Down. We're going to grab another small amount of white bucktail. Same thing, and I kind of want the tips to lay about, I don't know, I guess about half an inch behind those feather tips of the other bucktail we put in. Rotate around the hook. Make sure that bucktail covers the entire hook shank. Hold tight. Just kind of fan it out. These fibers up, trim them off. Dog is snoring. There we go. Then, and last but not least, piece of Guinea feather. I guess is all I got here. You can use olive or natural, it don't matter. Whatever you want to use. I like to find the big ones. Little small ones don't really do this lot justice. Now I'll just take it and preen all these baby feathers back. Pull that chunk off there. Now we're left with nice little guinea feather. And I'll just split the fibers on top, kind of make like this little V shape. And then we're gonna tie that in right at the hook eye, and I just kind of fold that other piece of fiber back. You don't have to trim it. Then I'm just gonna preen all these fibers forward like this, and then break it off, because that's exactly what you want to do. Let's try that again. Alright, try this again. Bring the fibers back, and then just gonna rotate it around the hook shank. Doesn't really have to be perfect, just needs to be on. Go ahead and capture that stem. Couple in front, couple in back. There we go. Make sure the fibers are on there good. And then what I like to do is take some Zap-A-Gap with the brush. I'll just drop a little bit on the thread. Take this and then just wrap it over your thread wraps a few times. And you can just throw another little half hitch in here. That'll also help that guinea feather stay on and not break off and fall apart. I have had that happen. And if you want to take the extra step to brush it out, you can. Make it look pretty. There we go. Alright. Step number 2. Then for the front hook, I'm going to use this Ahrex PR330. It's an Aberdeen Predator hook, 2/0. A lot of people use like the Gamakatsu worm hook. Only thing I don't like about it is it has those barbs on the top that you have to pinch down. And then sometimes it'll catch your thread and break it whenever I tie this deer hair on here. So I've been using this Ahrex hook. I like it a lot better. And I just got some cheap 50-pound mono from Walmart. Made my connection. I like to just measure it out by taking the tip of it, putting it on the front of that hook, and then coming down to this spot I have marked on my vise. So tie a bunch of these. Get our connection shank ready for our front fly. Use a couple of these 3D beads from Hareline. I'm just going to use them white and olive. You can use whatever you want to, it don't matter. It's just what I like to use. You will catch more fish if you use white and olive though. Alright, now we got 2 beads. Got the feather. There we go. Just going to go ahead and start my thread again. This time I'm only going to go halfway up the hook shank. I'm not going to go all the way up to the eye. Just kind of marking where I'm going to stop this mono at. So I'm going to drop that in. I like to leave a little bit of loop back here on the back. Okay, I don't want to cinch it down too tight. Give that fly plenty of movement. And I'll just wrap it up about halfway up the hook shank. Then I'll take these 2 pieces of mono that I have sticking out, and I like to just fold them back, kind of pinch them down. And then using the GSP to really snug that 50-pound mono down. There we go. And then more boot. I'll just take the thread and go through that boot. we go. Very important on this fly. Make sure you don't take this mono too far forward or whatever you're using to connect your shanks, because I want to leave plenty of room up at the front of my fly to tie in the big collar and then tie in that deer hair head, so that way it spins nice and easily for you. Alright, now we're going back with more white bucktail. This time I'm going to go a little bit more bucktail than I did on the back. I really want to cover up most of that connection shank that I made. Same thing, just kind of line some of the tips. That's good. Bucktail. Now I want to cover up to about 3/4 of the length of the bucktail on that back shank. Same thing, spinning around the hook, make sure you got the whole entire hook covered. Alright, I like to pull that tight to kind of flare that bucktail out. There we go. And of course it's important to make sure you put a little bit of bucktail in your sweet tea that you're drinking, so that way it gives it some extra flavor. Next we'll go with more polar chenille. Go in there, lock it down, all the way back on the bucktail. And then I'm just going to throw a little half hitch right here, right in front of that mono where it stops at. Follow that around, make sure the fibers lay back. Right in front of where that mono is sitting at. Populate just a little bit of thread base here, not too much. Next we're going to go with a little bit more white bucktail. And you don't have to use quite as much as you did on the back of the hook. This is just kind of just a little bit of a filler, because once we put this big collar on, it's going to all be covered up anyways. So just a little bit more bucktail. Same thing, about 3/4 of the way up the last section of tips of bucktail used. Make a few wraps, cover the hook, looks good. Pull tight. There we go. Good strong wraps on there. Pull down tight. You pull pretty hard with this 200 GSP. And we're going to throw in some Mirage Flash. I think this is opal colored, pearl, whatever color you want to use will work. I'm going to grab off like 5 or 6 pieces, maybe 7. I don't know. Whatever I grab here. So I got this whole length of pearl. What I kind of like to do is I'll take these tips and just kind of stagger them a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of stagger them. There we go. And lay them down kind of long, like almost to the tip of that feather, maybe not quite to the tip of that feather. Here, flip this flash back over. Double up that flash. That way I don't even have to trim it all. It's just kind of already the length that I want it. Then I'm gonna throw another half hitch in here. That's good. And then last but not least, one more piece of Guinea. This time we're going with red. Kind of give it that the gills of this fly. And once again, I want to get a fairly big piece of Guinea out. I'm going to trim off all the fluff. Alright, just got a nice big feather. Go to the tip, bring those fibers back, make that V. Like so. We'll tie this in right on top of that thread wraps that I put for the bucktail and for the flash. A couple wraps. I'll take this Guinea, bring it back. Just palm it around the hook shank. Right on top of those thread wraps. This feather wants to break on you. Couple on top, leg in front, throw another half inch. There we go. Alright. Now moving on to the fun part. So now I got my hollow bucktail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the base where these fibers are a lot thicker, okay, and they're more hollow. And so that way, whenever we tie the chunk in, it'll give you a nice big flare. And I'm gonna grab a really healthy chunk. I mean a healthy chunk. I guess like a pencil and a half or 2 pencils. I don't know. Alright, so fairly big chunk of this. So what this is gonna do is this is gonna lay back, and this is gonna make that the head of that fly. It's gonna kind of be the back. Of the head. I'm just going to take my brush and just kind of clean it out. There we go. That's good. And what I like to do is I'll take my scissors and I'll cut this like if you were making a milk hair caddis. Scissors. Straight like that, and I'm going to lay it right on top of the hook. I'm really going to pinch this down really good. That way it doesn't slip around on me. I'll pinch it down, I'm going to pull it tight. About 2 or 3 thread wraps over that, and then I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to go in between the fibers of that flared out bucktail and all the way back into the front. Okay, and before I let this go, I'm going to take and trim the front of this bucktail where all the feathers are flared out. Just like that. Alright. You're going to really push on this really hard. Shove it all the way back as far as you can. Okay, throw a half inch in here so it doesn't come apart. It looks like a lot, but once we trim this up, some of these fibers will get trimmed up. And it's okay if it wraps around all the way underneath the bottom of the shank too, because we're going to trim it up with a razor later. Okay, so that. Push back. We're going to go with some olive deer hair. I'm just going to grab a, I'm not going to grab a really thick chunk. I want to grab kind of a light clump. Because you don't want this head to be jam-packed, you know, like if you were spinning deer hair for like a popper or something like that. You really want it to be kind of sparse, because if it's too thick, this fly wants to stay up really high in the water column. And I want this fly to sink with my sinking line a little bit. So kind of, you know, going pretty sparse with the hair, not super thick. Okay. Clean those fibers out. I'm just going to stick it right on top, right in front of the bucktail laid in. Laid about 3 thread wraps. Help it rotate around the hook shank. There we go. Then I'm gonna take my hair backer, wherever my hair backer's at. Oh, it's right in front of me. And then I am gonna shove this first roll back. Okay, so shove it back pretty good ways. Put some pressure on it. I'm gonna preen all these fibers back. I'm gonna take my thread, put up 2 or 3 wraps in front. And there we go. Next we're going on to our white deer hair. This is belly hair, and the same thing. I don't want a super thick chunk of deer hair. I want it to be kind of sparse. So less than a pencil. Clean this out real good. Pull all these fibers back. Lay that deer hair right in front. 2 or 3 wraps on it, kind of help it run around that hook shank. Couple wraps through the hair. And I'm just going to lightly push this back. I don't want to press it on there hard. I just want to lightly push it back. And now you should have still a little bit of a gap between that last clump of hair and your eye. Okay. Very important, like I said, don't press on it too hard so that way you don't really pack this head in here. We don't want to pack it, we're just trying to stack it. Alright, one more clump of olive deer here. Same thing, bring all these fibers back. Stick that olive on top. 2 or 3 thread wraps. Let the hair spin around that hook shank. Put a couple wraps between here. Alright, now I'm just going to kind of push this back. I'm not shoving it on here, okay? I'm just lightly pushing this tool on here just to bring the fibers back. That's all I want to do. And I'm going to put 3 or 4 wraps in front around that hook eye. I'll use my hair packer tool here to roll my finish in. 3 half inches in. Thread breaks, but that's okay because we didn't. Alright. So we are almost done with this fly. Now we gotta do the fun part of trimming it. Alright, so to trim this properly, what I like to do is turn my vise upside down. Okay, so I've got the hook facing straight up, and I'm gonna take my handy dandy razor blade. And what I wanna do is I wanna just come in and I just wanna cut straight. And all I'm trying to do is basically make this bottom of this flat, like up against the hook. And you gotta be careful, you don't wanna cut your thread, you don't wanna cut too deep. Just kind of want to go with a straight cut all the way back, and you can do it in 2 or 3 steps. Trim a little bit, take that hair off so you can see what you're doing, and then trim a little bit more off. And this is where I said it's okay if that bucktail around that big collar wraps around, because I'm gonna just come in here and just lightly trim a little bit of this off right in here so I can see that red guinea really good. Nice and neat. Alright, so now you can see I've got that nice and flat. Okay, so all we want to do is make it nice and flat. Let's get all these fibers out the way. Next, I'm going to take my long pair of razor scissors, and what I want to do is I want to cut 2 angles. Okay, I want to cut an angle going this way, and I want to cut one angle going this way. Okay, and this is just going to kind of help me get the shape of my head. All right, so let's see if I can get this with the camera. You see what I'm doing? Just gonna come in here, make a small cut. I don't want to go too far, not quite a 45. Okay, that one. This one from here slightly. All right, so now you can kind of see where I've got those 2 cuts here and here. Okay. Then I'm going to take my scissors and I want to make a straight cut going parallel with the hook here and up here. And what this is going to do is this is just going to give me kind of the generalized shape of that head that I want to make, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of close. It just kind of gives you an eyeball whenever you start trimming this hair. Alright, so you see where I got the edge trimmed off here, and I got these nice little angles cut up front. Now I'll flip my vise around, back right side up. You can use a tool if you want to. I just take the razor blade and I just bend it with my finger. Okay. All I'm gonna do is pull all these fibers back, leave just the hair, the deer hair that we put on here. And then I'm just gonna make a straight cut going straight towards the back of the hook. Okay. And I don't want to angle it or anything like that. I just want to go straight back with this razor blade bent. If you have a nice sharp razor blade, it works really good. Okay. Basically just creating that bulb looking head that Chad developed. Yeah, looks good. Okay. Now you can kind of see I got that rounded off head. And then last step, I'm gonna take my scissors, and all I'm gonna do is just come on here at an angle, okay, and I'm just gonna rotate my vise around and just kind of trim the head of this up a little bit. Do it probably 2 or 3 times, kind of creating that dome shape on the front, kind of almost like a little ramp up to that collar. Okay, you just take your time with this. You don't want to do it too fast and screw your head up, and then you have to trim it all back up. Also, I have to bring that big collar back again, and then just kind of even out my fibers. Make it look good. There we go. Nice bulb shaped head. And then my last step I want to do before I'm done with this fly is I'm going to take some more glue. Okay, take a zap gap, and I'm just going to brush it on the bottom of this head. That way it kind of makes it stiff. Also get it in there where the glue is at on that deer hair, so that way your head doesn't fall apart. Nothing like spending 45 minutes to an hour on a fly to have your head fall apart the first time you catch fish. Not cool. Just cut it very generously. Get it all up in there. And there we go. Now you kind of see where I've created that dome shape of that head. It's nice and flat on the bottom. You can see that guinea poking out. And there, my friends, is your CJ Sluggo.